filled with enormous stories. Time for this sound off. Eye-opening comments from Joe Burrow, who, as you know, has dealt with a plethora of injuries in his career, including this season. Listen to what he said yesterday.
You know, if I want to keep doing this, I have to have fun doing it. You know, I've been through a lot, and if it's not fun, then what am I doing it for? I've been through more than most, and certainly not easy on the brain or the body, so just trying to have fun doing it again.
Seemed frustrating.
There's just a lot of things going on right now.
Holy smoke. So that was startling, right? I mean, it's like an uncomfortable laugh. Like that's Joe Burrow, who was one of the great players and great leaders and great everything that we see in the National Football League. Schefter, what did you take away from that?
A lot. That's a contemplative, reflective, thoughtful Joe Burrow who still is processing where he's at this season and how he wants to proceed. The quote is, if I want to keep doing this, I have to have fun doing that. If you're raising that question at the end of the year, then there is a major issue going on in his mind and with that organization. And if we look at the punishment that he's taken over the years, it rivals that of just about any quarterback. He's been pummeled. I would think he probably hasn't felt supported. The offensive line has not protected him. The defense has failed him. The personnel has not been good around him. And it is within Joe Burrow's right to say and do whatever he wants. He will have a huge say in whether he wants to keep playing, whether he wants to keep playing in Cincinnati. I can tell you this. There were other teams around the league that took notice of that yesterday. So we're talking about all the Sharks circling around the Michigan football players. I can tell you this. All these teams around the league are paying attention to what Joe Burrow said yesterday.
It's the beginning of the end for Joe Burrow in Cincinnati. The organization has absolutely failed him. If I'm the Jets, if I'm the Raiders, if I'm the Vikings, if I'm the Steelers, I'm figuring out a way, coming off of what happened just yesterday, getting together and saying, how do we get Joe Burrow? How do we start the process of making Joe Burrow our quarterback? Because he obviously no longer wants to be in Cincinnati.
And let me interrupt. And Dan's saying these teams have to start the process of saying, how do we get Joe Burrow? Let me answer that for you. There's really only one way. The quarterback himself has to say, I want to go play in this place. And as soon as he says that, it's over in Cincinnati, and he's going to go play wherever, because if he's dug in enough and he's strong enough and he feels the way he does enough, then he gets what he wants here.
And it feels like that yesterday was the beginning of that process.
For sure. I'm old enough to remember two people. One of them was Carson Palmer, who retired rather than continuing playing for the Cincinnati Bengals and ultimately got traded to the Raiders. The other is Andrew Luck. Can we put up the numbers that we have on Andrew Luck? Andrew Luck retired what can only be described as ridiculously prematurely because the fun had literally been beaten out of him in the game. Joe Burrow has been sacked 29 more times than Andrew Luck in 13 fewer games in his career. Hawk.
That'll take the fun out of you.
I'm in the middle of this. Like, everybody has responsibility. I would rather Joe Burrow just come out and say he wants to go somewhere else, just to be honest. And this might be a little Bengal homer in me. And I know for him, you want it to be fun. But a couple of weeks ago, him coming back and how much of a competitor that he is, it's hard to do both. It is hard. And I get that the Cincinnati Bengals have not put the protection in front of him that he needs. He doesn't want to be injured year in and year out. But I'm just like, just stand on your two and say, hey, I'm ready for a change if that is the process. Otherwise, like the whole ominous, you know, is he going to retire? Is he? That's what I mean. Like, let's just be direct with it. And Joe Burrow is one of my two favorite players in the NFL.
To me, that soundbite we just listened to right there is perfect, because what it is it tells all 31 other teams one of the best players in the NFL may be available, and we might have a chance to go get him. Whether that's real for half of them or not they'll find out later. But as far as him saying, it's got to be fun for me to keep playing, now the organization that he's playing for has alarm bells going off. Their front office is freaking out, and now it's how do we fix and make everything better for Joe Burrow? And the answer to that is investing in their offense.
And it's also not all. Everything isn't like a gentleman in the audience also asked him, is there stuff going on? Is it professional, personal? And he's got like everything. And there's a lot of stuff going on that he's dealing with right now. So it's not all like, hey, I want to get out of Cincinnati. There could be other things going on. Like, this is a guy who's also been injured, that's been in the rehab room. Like, this game takes a toll on your body.
but he's been injured because of Cincinnati.
No doubt. doubt, no doubt. But I'm just saying, like, we've all been injured in the training room where there's a lot of things going on in our lives, and you think like all this money that we make like should make you happy, should keep your heart rate at 60 on your Garmin watch, but it just
Rolex.
doesn't.
No free shout out.
Yeah, like no free shout out to Garmin. But also like he's taken his entire identity is wrapped up in playing quarterback, and there are things with the Bengals. There's things that sounds like going on with them outside of football, to where he's just giving as thoughtful of an answer as he can, as authentic as possible. I think it's like saying a lot to everybody.
Joe Burrow has been the best quarterback, the best player on his football team since he was 8 years old, right? When you're unable to do the thing you've loved doing your entire life, that's going to hurt you, but it's also going to affect every other phase of your life, is basically what you're saying, where small little molehills are now being made mountains.
I'm hoping that when I ask him to be direct with the organization, because there is a precedent for Cincinnati, to your point. I was there when Carson Palmer refused to come to camp, and that's where Andy Dalton was born, because he was a second rounder. He was a backup plan to whatever happened with Carson. They didn't want him to leave, and they were bullish on doing things their way. My request for him to be direct is to hope that the Bengals will say, here's how we will change it. Here is our plan to prevent that from happening again, because there's a very clear blueprint to that same history repeating itself.
But then you have to, if you're the player, if you're Joe, you have to trust and believe that they actually will. He's been there for 5 or 6 years. They've had the worst pass protection in the NFL. Out of every quarterback, had the worst pass protection. They're going to change it now?
And if they don't, then it will be Andrew Luck.
Very quick final word, super quick.
Quarterbacks know what they're saying at all times. For him to say that makes you think.
Okay, when certainly we are thinking.
Well said.
We'll take a short time out. There are so many huge stories today. We've got more from the...
Usually 2 portal windows. One portal window for the January 2nd that everybody gets, and another one when they hire a new head coach. So if you bring a guy in that the guys on your current roster don't like, then they're going to go, and all the other programs are going to be, sharks in the water around those players. So you have to get a coach that has a track record of winning, to your point, a coach that has done well with the resources they've been afforded, but they can do more with the resources at Michigan, and one that the players on that roster are galvanized by and that are probably coming with probably 20 to 30 players of their own from their current program.
And listen, like, every player that is good on the University of Michigan woke up this morning from a text from their agent, if they have an agent.
Correct.
And it's going to be, hey, what do you want? These people are reaching out. That process, the tampering process, because of how the Wild West of college football is already taking place right now. That's why, to me, it's, if you get the powers that be, whoever the Illuminati of Michigan is, get them in a room, and you have to make a strategic decision right now. Who are our top 3 guys? If the first guy's going to be Kalen DeBoer, that call needs to happen, whether it's back channels or right to Jimmy Sexton himself. It needs to get done immediately, because you got to get these players to get off of all the sharks that are about to come.
Because you're right, too, with the group chats firing up on losing your head coach and everything else. But players are going to be asking, hey, we thinking about moving? We thinking about leaving? Would I be curious, too, to ask Schefter on the name of Kalen DeBoer? I do feel like there was whispers of Kalen DeBoer in Michigan over the recent weeks, and a lot of it hung on if Alabama was going to be Auburn in the Iron Bowl. I feel like that's also why Lane Kiffin was waiting until the 11th hour, was to see if that Alabama job was going to come open. So what I'm curious about is it going to come down to Alabama and Oklahoma next weekend on if Oklahoma wins that game? Do we now look at Kalen DeBoer going out to Michigan? Or does it happen sooner than that? Because, again, if that Alabama job opens up, is there going to be another crazy Lane Kiffin story that we hear about?
Let me be very clear when that game is. Just a week from tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Eastern on ABC and ESPN, Alabama and Oklahoma play what might be the best of all, the first-round college football playoff games. And this conversation, to your point, is taking place right this minute with that game 8 days away.
I don't know the result of any game is going to dictate whether or not a coach stays or goes. I think Kalen DeBoer is a name that had intrigued Michigan in the past. I think the school is a program that had intrigued him in the past.
Yeah.
And I don't care whether he wins or loses. The college world is not a world that I know well in terms of how it works. But if they win, can he take? I guess he can take the job at any point he wants, right? That's my. It's not like the NFL where the coach has to lose and then they can get things going.
I guess for me, it's more so if I'm DeBoer,
but I don't believe the result of that game. Either he wants to be in Michigan and Michigan wants him, or he doesn't. That's it. I don't care what happens in the game. Okay, if he wants to be there and Michigan wants him, and by the way, let me also say this: I don't believe he's going to be the only name that they sift through. There are going to be many. You guys are making it sound like he's the guy, and he might be the guy in the end. But there are going to be other names for this job that come up, and they're going to go through all of them. It's not like it's a one-shot deal here where it's Kalen DeBoer or bust.
And I understand that, Shefty, but if